In a bold move that underscores the growing rift within the Democratic Party, Democratic National Committee DNC Chair Ken Martin has proposed significant rule changes aimed at ensuring party neutrality during primary elections. This proposal comes amidst a burgeoning progressive movement led by younger activists, including DNC Vice Chair David Hogg, who is rallying support to challenge what he deems asleep-at-the-wheel incumbents. Martin's initiative, which emphasizes that no DNC officer should influence primary outcomes, is designed to maintain trust with Democratic voters and is part of a broader strategy to revitalize the party ahead of future elections. During a recent conference call, Martin articulated the need for these changes by stating, "No DNC officer should ever attempt to influence the outcome of a primary election, whether on behalf of an incumbent or a challenger." This statement reflects a commitment to a more democratic process within the party, asserting that voters should have the ultimate say in selecting their representatives. The proposal is set to be discussed at the DNC's upcoming meeting in August, where Hogg faces a dilemma: either resign from the DNC or distance himself from his own organization, Leaders We Deserve, which is investing $20 million to support challengers against both ineffective Democratic officeholders and Republican incumbents. Hogg, a survivor of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School shooting and an outspoken advocate for gun reform, has become a polarizing figure within the party. Since his election as the youngest vice chair in history in February, he has sparked criticism from some veteran Democrats who feel the party cannot afford internal conflict, particularly in light of President Donald Trump's anticipated second term. However, Hogg argues that the Democratic Party is at a crisis moment that requires a re-evaluation of its leadership and direction. He remarked, "The division in our party right now is not so much, are you on the left or are you in the center? It is, do you want to fight or do you want to roll over and die?" Recent polling indicates a troubling sentiment among Democrats regarding their leadership. A Gallup survey highlighted a stark contrast in confidence levels, with 76% of Republicans expressing trust in their congressional leaders compared to just 39% of Democrats. Hogg emphasized the urgency of addressing these concerns, stating, "We have to show them how the party is changing and how we are fighting for them. Not just to say don't vote for Donald Trump, but vote for us because we are here to revive the American dream that far too many young people feel like no longer exists." In response to the challenges posed by internal dissent, Martin unveiled a broader reform package aimed at energizing grassroots efforts and fostering transparency within the party. Joined by former DNC Chair Howard Dean and Jane Kleeb, president of the Association of State Democratic Parties, Martin emphasized the need for a strategic shift away from a Washington-centric focus. "I'm done with Democrats myopically focusing on just a few battleground states every few years. We are not simply a presidential campaign committee," he asserted. One key initiative involves a new state partnership program that will provide each state party with a $17,500 monthly allocation, a $5,000 increase from previous funding. States under Republican control will receive an additional $5,000, bringing their total to $22,500. This financial support aims to bolster state-level planning, candidate training, and strategic assessments ahead of elections, echoing the successful 50-state strategy implemented by Dean in the early 2000s. As the Democratic Party grapples with its identity and leadership dynamics, the proposed rule changes and financial investments signal a pivotal moment in its evolution. The outcomes of these developments will likely shape the party's trajectory as it prepares for crucial elections ahead. With voices like Hogg advocating for a more progressive agenda and Martin seeking to unify the party, the coming months will be critical in determining whether the Democrats can effectively rally their base and present a formidable challenge to Republican incumbents in the future. As federal funding for public broadcasting faces new scrutiny, South Dakota Public Broadcasting (SDPB) finds itself at a critical juncture. The Trump administration's proposal to eliminate funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting (CPB) could have sweeping consequences, potentially jeopardizing essential programming from PBS and NPR that many communities, especially in rural South Dakota, depend on for news and educational content.
The administration's budget proposal is set against a backdrop of ongoing debates about the role of public media in American society.
According to SDPB, federal funding is pivotal for maintaining its local programming, which serves as a vital resource for information and cultural enrichment. Without this support, many programs that South Dakotans rely on could disappear, warned a spokesperson for the broadcaster, highlighting the unique position of SDPB as a lifeline for emergency information and public discourse in less populated areas.
Congress now holds the fate of this funding in its hands,
with a rescission memo expected to be delivered before April 28. Lawmakers will have 45 days to respond, and discussions in the U.S. House may commence as early as the week of May 5. The South Dakota congressional delegation, including Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Senators Mike Rounds and Representative Dusty Johnson, is poised to play a crucial role in this decision. Johnson, a member of the Bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus, has shown previous support for public broadcasting initiatives, underscoring the potential for collaborative efforts to preserve funding.
This funding challenge is not new for SDPB.
Earlier this year, Governor Kristi Noem proposed cuts to the state budget for SDPB, arguing that public broadcasting should not rely on taxpayer dollars. This suggestion incited significant public backlash, with over 1,000 constituents reaching out to their representatives in support of maintaining funding. Grassroots support made a difference, noted Ryan Howlett,
CEO of Friends of SDPB, emphasizing the impact of local advocacy.
"Imagine if the entire state focuses on our congressional delegation," he added, suggesting that organized efforts could amplify their message. In light of the current funding threats, advocates are mobilizing once again, aiming for a wave of 10,000 calls to Thune, Rounds, and Johnson within the next 2 weeks. This grassroots movement reflects a broader concern among South Dakotans about the future of public broadcasting. For many, SDPB is not just a source of entertainment, it is integral to the cultural and informational fabric of their communities, particularly in areas where access to alternative media is limited. As this situation unfolds, the implications for SDPB and public broadcasting as a whole are significant. The outcome of Congress's decision will ultimately shape the future of local programming and the availability of critical information resources for residents across South Dakota.
Advocates remain hopeful that their concerted efforts will resonate with lawmakers, emphasizing the essential role that public broadcasting plays in fostering informed and connected communities.
Looking ahead, the fate of SDPB may hinge on the success of these grassroots initiatives and the willingness of Congress to prioritize public service media in an increasingly polarized political landscape. In a significant political shift for Illinois, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton has officially announced her candidacy for the U.S. Senate, making her the first major Democratic contender to enter the race for the seat currently held by Senator Dick Durbin, who recently declared he will not seek re-election. Stratton's campaign launch on April 24, 2025, follows Durbin's announcement that after 44 years in Congress he will retire when his term ends in 2027. Stratton, who has served as lieutenant governor since 2019 alongside Governor J.B. Pritzker, emphasized her commitment to working families and progressive policies during her announcement. For too long, the middle class has been centered on the campaign trail but sidelined when it comes to real governance, she stated, underscoring her intention to act as a champion for the constituents she hopes to represent. Her campaign video highlighted a vision of leadership that contrasts sharply with figures like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, whom she accused of creating nonstop chaos rather than solutions. The timing of Stratton's announcement is crucial. It positions her as a leading candidate in what is anticipated to be a highly competitive Democratic primary. Durbin, the Senate's longest-serving Democratic whip, noted that at least a dozen candidates have expressed interest in his seat, indicating a crowded field ahead. Stratton's ties to the Democratic establishment could give her an edge, as she has built a substantial political network during her tenure. Throughout her time in office, Stratton has gained recognition for her work in various initiatives, including raising the minimum wage, expanding healthcare access, and bolstering abortion rights. Her background as a caregiver for her mother who suffered from Alzheimer's disease shaped her compassionate approach to public service, further informing her political philosophy. "My path isn't typical, but then again typical isn't what we need right now," she remarked, signaling her intent to bring fresh perspectives to Washington. Governor Pritzker, while praising Stratton's capabilities, has refrained from endorsing her at this early stage. He described her as one of the most accomplished people to hold the role of lieutenant governor, highlighting her significant contributions to governance in Illinois. Pritzker's eventual endorsement could prove pivotal for Stratton, particularly as she navigates the fundraising landscape against formidable opponents including U.S. Representatives Raja Krishnamurti, Lauren Underwood, and Robin Kelly, all of whom are potential candidates in the Democratic primary. Stratton's campaign is also backed by her recently established Political Action Committee Level Up, which aims to support progressive candidates and causes. However, as she transitions from PAC to campaign mode, the effectiveness of her fundraising efforts will be closely scrutinized. As the race unfolds, the implications of Durbin's retirement reverberate throughout the political landscape, marking an opportunity for new leadership and progressive ideals in the U.S. Senate. The Democratic primary is scheduled for March 2026, setting the stage for a potentially transformative election year for both Illinois and national politics. Stratton's bid signals a willingness to confront the challenges posed by a shifting political climate as she prepares to advocate for the values and needs of her constituents amidst a backdrop of increasing electoral competition. As the campaign progresses, all eyes will be on Illinois to see how Stratton and her fellow candidates position themselves in the fight for a seat that has long been held by a Democratic stalwart. And a significant political development for Michigan, Representative Haley Stevens has officially announced her candidacy for the U.S. Senate seat in 2026. A move that marks a pivotal shift from her current role in the House of Representatives. This announcement comes on the heels of incumbent Senator Gary Peters' decision not to seek re-election, leaving the seat open for a competitive race. As political analysts assess the landscape, both the Cook Political Report and Sabato's Crystal Ball have categorized the upcoming election as a toss-up, while Inside Elections has classified it as battleground Democratic. In a video released to coincide with her announcement, Stevens expressed her deep-rooted connection to Michigan, stating, "Growing up in Michigan meant being surrounded by innovation, ingenuity, and pride in hard work," and vowed to continue fighting for the state's workforce. Her commitment to representing Michigan aligns with her previous successes in the House, where she first won election in 2018 by defeating Republican Lena Epstein, flipping what was previously a Republican-held district. Stevens has successfully defended her seat in subsequent elections, notably winning by a narrow margin of 2 percentage points in 2020, followed by a robust 22-point victory in 2022 and an 18-point triumph in 2024. Analysts attribute her success partly to favorable changes in the congressional map ahead of the 2022 elections, which made her district safer for Democrats. As of now, predictions for her potential successors in Michigan's 11th congressional district suggest a solid Democratic rating, further indicating the shifting political dynamics in the state. The 2026 Senate race is shaping up to be highly competitive, with Stevens joining a growing list of congressional members announcing their intentions not to seek re-election. As of late April 2025, a total of 12 lawmakers, including 5 senators and 7 representatives, have declared that they will not run for their current seats. Among these, several representatives are pivoting to Senate campaigns, while others are targeting gubernatorial positions. This wave of retirements is notable when compared to prior election cycles. For instance, there were only 8 announcements at this time last year. The political climate is increasingly dynamic, emphasizing the need for candidates like Stevens to not only secure their base but also appeal to a broader electorate. With the upcoming election cycle set against the backdrop of national challenges, including ongoing debates over governance and public policy, the stakes are high for all candidates involved. As election strategies unfold, Michigan voters can expect to see a robust exchange of ideas and proposals aimed at addressing their pressing concerns. As Stevens embarks on her Senate campaign, Her ability to connect with constituents and articulate a compelling vision for Michigan will be crucial. The 2026 election cycle promises to be a significant chapter in the state's political narrative with implications that could resonate well beyond its borders. As candidates gear up for a fiercely contested race, all eyes will be on Michigan to see how these dynamics play out in the months to come. In a significant legal battle that may reshape the future of military policy and LGBTQ+ rights in the United States, former President Donald Trump has taken a bold step by requesting the Supreme Court to permit the enforcement of a controversial ban on transgender individuals serving in the military. This move comes as a response to a series of lower court rulings that have temporarily blocked the ban, which was first introduced during Trump's presidency and has been a focal point of legal and political contention ever since. The request to the Supreme Court was lodged on April 24, 2025, amidst ongoing discussions about the rights of transgender service members. Trump's administration argues that reinstating the ban is essential for maintaining military readiness and unit cohesion, a claim that has been heavily scrutinized by advocates for LGBTQ+ rights. The implications of this request are profound, as a ruling in favor of the ban could not only affect the lives of thousands of transgender individuals already serving or wishing to serve, but could also set a precedent for future military and employment policies across the nation. In a statement regarding the request, Trump's legal team emphasized the need for a clear military policy that they argue is vital for national security. It is imperative that we uphold standards that ensure the effectiveness and readiness of our armed forces, they stated. However, this assertion has faced backlash from various human rights organizations, which argue that the ban is discriminatory and undermines the military's core values of inclusivity and equality. The legal landscape surrounding this issue has been fraught with complexities. Multiple courts have ruled against the ban, citing concerns over its legality and the potential harm it poses to service members' mental and physical well-being. Advocates for transgender rights argue that the military's stance should be based on the ability of individuals to serve rather than their gender identity. Denying capable individuals the right to serve based on their gender identity is not only unjust but also detrimental to our military's strength, said a spokesperson for the Human Rights Campaign. As the Supreme Court considers Trump's request, the broader implications of this case extend beyond military policy and into the realm of civil rights. The outcome could influence legislative approaches to LGBTQ+ rights nationwide, potentially reigniting debates over discrimination protections and equality in various sectors. Meanwhile, as legal proceedings unfold, other significant cases continue to capture public attention. In Maryland, a judge granted a week-long delay in the Abrego Garcia case after expressing frustration with perceived government inaction. This case, among others, highlights ongoing legal challenges that intersect with issues of civil rights and government accountability. Additionally, the Supreme Court recently ruled against the Trump administration in a separate case involving nearly $2 billion in foreign aid funding, a decision that Justice Samuel Alito described as stunning. This ruling reflects the judiciary's growing willingness to challenge executive authorities, signaling a potential shift in how the courts may handle cases related to governmental power and accountability moving forward. As these legal battles progress, the implications for policy and rights in America remain significant. The Supreme Court's eventual ruling on the transgender military ban will not only impact the military but also serve as a litmus test for the current administration's approach to civil rights. The coming months will undoubtedly be pivotal as the nation watches closely, anticipating decisions that could either advance or hinder progress toward equality for all citizens.